بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Sending the Community with me, Hafiz Muhammad Umar. And in today's show, we are going to be talking about the community voluntary service in Bedfordshire in particular. And I'm delighted to have David Brewer with me. David is the Senior Advisor at Community Voluntary Service, locally known as CVS Bedfordshire. Welcome to you, David.
Thank you, Mohammed, and delighted to be here.
And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We are live to this, listeners. If you want to ring in and share your thoughts or ideas, or perhaps have any question to ask, please either ring the studio on 01582 481822. That's Luton 01582 481822. Or you can WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. That's 07779 481822. Excuse me. In terms of upcoming events, as I mentioned last week, there is the Faith and Cancer event taking place on Saturday, the 20. Beg your pardon, this Saturday, coming the 18th of January at a local church. I will give some more details about that later in the show, and also next Tuesday, there is an event called Sending the Experts, where you get the opportunity to ask questions to all the local special education needs and disabilities providers about a whole host of activities they are involved in and how you could be involved too. So for the time being, we are coming back to the CVS Community Voluntary Service. And I'm going to ask David to tell us a bit about what Community Voluntary Service Bedfordshire is.
Okay, thanks, Mohammed. So yes, Community Voluntary Service Bedfordshire is an organisation that is dedicated to providing support and advice to individuals and organisations from the voluntary and community sector across Bedfordshire. So, for example, what I mean by that is people in their local community that want to do good. Maybe they want to set up a charity or start a social enterprise or just a little community group to make a difference in their local area. And we are there specifically to help these people to get some practical support to get that going, and to actually start to put some of the practical things in place that will make their ideas a reality. So yeah, we'll do that in Luton, in Bedford, in the towns around central Bedfordshire. Anyone can just contact us and ask for our help. Our help is free. And we like to think we're experts in what we do, so you do get free independent support to get going with your ideas.
Excellent. Thank you so much for summing it up so beautifully there, David. Now, most of our listeners will be familiar with the term voluntary. What about volunteering? What about social enterprise?
That's a good question. So social enterprise is when you want to turn your idea for doing good in your local community into a business, but not necessarily a commercial business, a business with social purpose. And what that means is that a social enterprise will, for example, register with Companies House. It will undertake to be a business, but it's not allowed to make profits. Any money that it makes has to be reinvested into the social purpose for which it was set up. So let's think of a practical example. Someone in a local community in Luton, say in Darlow, may want to set up a social enterprise to help local parents whose children have special educational needs, and they might want to provide a range of services for these parents. So that is a really good social purpose. And it's also potentially a good business idea, because there will be, if you like, commissioners or people that let contracts that are interested to provide support to groups of parents with children with special educational needs. So, for example, the local council or the local health service will be interested in commissioning services to support these parents potentially. So a social enterprise can take advantage of these opportunities and become commercially viable, but operate in a way that delivers on the social purpose of supporting parents to better manage and navigate the difficulties they have in, over and above what maybe other folk would have because of all the complexities of trying to support their children.
Excellent. So, in other words, if a person has an idea, they shouldn't just sit on it and think, well, it's impossible for me to turn this into reality due to financial constraints or, lack of space or time or energy. They should really contact someone like your service and see what the possibilities are.
You've nailed it on the head, Mohammed. That is the thing to do. If you've got an idea and you just want to do something that you will think will benefit your local community, give us a call, drop us a line, send us an email, and we'll have a chat with you and try our best to really get you going and make the idea a reality. There's a whole range of ways that we can provide practical support to you. We can advise you on setting up with the right constitution. We can help you with advice on getting the bank account sorted for your organisation. We can even help with some basic funding applications to get small grants to provide the financial assistance to get you going with making your idea a reality.
Excellent. Excuse me. And in terms of turning the idea into a reality, you mentioned people could contact you either by telephone or on email. I can see info@cvsbeds.org.uk. Would that be the best email address to use?
That's the best one. Yeah, that's the best one. The information at cvsbeds.org.uk. Yeah, and that's on our website.
Yeah. And the website, listeners, is www.cvs, which stands for Community Voluntary Service, beds.org.uk. It's all one word, cvsbeds.org.uk. And if you go to contact us, all the details are there. Telephone number 01234 354 366. That's Bedford 01234 354 366. And your office is based at 43 Bromham Road in Bedford. But you are coming to Luton in March.
Indeed, yeah.
Exciting.
Thanks for that little introduction to our forthcoming events, Mohammed. Yes, we are. First of all, before I get into that, can I say that as well as the sort of generic email address that Mohammed read out to listeners, I'm also very happy for people to contact me personally following on from this show if they would like, and they can get me at david@cvsbeds.org.uk. So just replace the info with David, and that'll come directly to me. So if you've got a question direct as a result of the conversation this evening on the show, then please just email me direct, and I'll be very, very happy to respond and help in the best way I can.
Fantastic. That is David at David@cvsbeds.org.uk. If you want to have the expert advice on turning your idea into reality, as David mentioned, it could be to do with the voluntary organization or anything new that you might be thinking of setting up, and David can have that initial discussion with you, and then perhaps discuss the logistics on how or what route your idea should take before becoming a reality. So brilliant. Thank you so much for that, David. And then the actual events being planned for
events in March? Yeah.
Yes.
So delighted to say that myself and one or two colleagues, my colleague Paul from CVS Bedfordshire, who is an expert in volunteering, all things volunteering. So if you want to volunteer or you want to use volunteers, then we'll be able to cater for you. Also, some of my colleagues from the Social Justice Unit at Luton Borough Council will also be in attendance. And what we are going to do is we're going to run 3 drop-in sessions at Let's Hub in Luton on King Street. We're going to run these sessions on 3 successive Tuesdays in March. So that is the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th of March. We will be there from 11 in the morning through to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the idea is that you can drop in without an appointment just to talk to us face to face and just ask about anything that relates to what you might want to have a go at doing in your local community. You might want to just set up a little community group. You might want to start a social enterprise or think about doing something for charity. Any of that we'll talk to you about and give you some very practical advice about how you can get going and just really set you off on the right path so that you don't waste time and energy doing things that are not the best way forward.
Brilliant. And those 3 consecutive sessions, as David mentioned, are on Tuesdays, starting on the 11th of March from 11:30 until 3 o'clock. They are free sessions at Let's Hub, 30 King Street, Luton, LU1 2DP, that's D for Delta, P for Papa, and they will be repeated on the 18th of March at the same time of 11:30 to 1500 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then on the Tuesday the 25th of March will be the 3rd session, and I see there are also additional sessions already planned in Luton. There's one at the Luton Irish Forum for Tuesday, the 4th of March.
Yes. Now, these are specific training sessions.
Okay.
If you are a charity or a social enterprise in the town in Luton, and you want some specific advice on how best to apply for funding or how to manage and develop your organization, or perhaps how to make sure that you're observing the correct safeguarding guidance, any of those things we can provide training sessions on. So as Mohammed quite rightly says, we've got sessions coming up both at the Luton Irish Forum in Luton and also at our CVS office in Bedford. You can see all the sessions on our website under the events page, and we would encourage you to sign up if you would like some very practical, focused, specific training on any of those issues.
And thank you, David. And as David mentioned earlier, the fact that CVS Bedfordshire covers the whole of Bedfordshire, so it's 3 local authorities in total, the densely populated boroughs of Luton and Bedford, and everything else which is considered central Bedfordshire, so from Leighton Linstead on the west to Biggleswade on the east, and everything in between that stretch of A421. And I'm looking at one being held tomorrow at Amtil. It's a volunteer information session. So if any of our listeners are listening from Flitwick, Amtil, or neighbouring towns or villages, that might be a good one to get to from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon at the Surfing Cafe, Amtil, MK45 2EH. And again, you don't need to pre-book, just
just turn up. That session has got a focus on volunteering. So if you're interested in either doing some volunteering yourself or registering to use volunteers, then get along to that session tomorrow and have a chat with Mark, and he'll be very happy to support you.
Brilliant. Listeners, if you have just tuned in, you're listening to Send in the Community show with me, Hafiz Muhammad Umar, here on Inspire 105.1 FM. And in today's show, we are talking about the local community voluntary service, Bedfordshire. And I am very, very pleased to have one of the senior advisors with me. He's David Brewer, who has very kindly gone through in very detail about the excellent work they are doing in Bedford, in Luton, and all the neighbouring towns and villages throughout Bedfordshire, ensuring that people who want to volunteer, or those who want to turn their ideas into reality for social enterprise purposes, they get an excellent head start right from the beginning. And having spoken to other people in the local community who have accessed the CVS services in the past, I think everybody has nothing but praise to sing about CVS Bedfordshire on the excellent work they have been doing locally. And if you are interested in getting involved, please go to their website at www.cvsbeds.org.uk, and there you find lots of information, including upcoming events. We just talked about 3 events that are being planned in Luton specifically as drop-in sessions, and then there are others. So those 3, were on 3 consecutive Tuesdays in March, starting on the 11th from 11:30 until 3 o'clock at Let's Hub at 30 King Street, Luton, and followed by a repeat session on the 18th of March and then on the 25th. And then there are a whole host of other events that are both for volunteers as well as people who are already running their own organizations to better access support. So head over to their website, look at the event section. Now, coming back to the actual work that you're doing, David, we talked a bit about your organization in the beginning, and in terms of funders, what sort of involvement do they have with your organization?
That's a very good question. We, if you like, are an intermediary between listeners who potentially want to apply for funds to make their idea a reality, and the funders themselves who are interested and have amounts of money that they are prepared to grant out to charities or social enterprises or community groups to do work. And our role as that intermediary in the middle is to work with you to provide you with the right sort of advice and guidance to make good, strong applications to the funders that have got the best chance of success. So because we're in that intermediary role, we understand and work with the funders on a very regular basis. So we know what they like to see, we know what their needs are, and therefore we are very well placed to give you the right sort of advice to make the best of your ideas and applications. I ought to just say that we can never guarantee success, because at the end of the day, funders will make their own mind up about what they want to support and what they think is worthy to support. And that's right and proper. That's the way it should be. But because we have got that relationship with them, we are very well placed to really help you to make the best of your applications. So going back to Mohammed's reference to the training events at Luton Irish Forum, for example, there are 2 courses that we run called Fit for Funding Starting Right and Fit for Funding Outcomes and Impact. And both those courses go into a lot of practical detail about the things that you can do as a small charity or community group to really position yourself in the best possible way to apply for a small grant from a local funder to get you up and running with your idea.
Right. Okay. So when we say a small grant, are we what sort of sums are we talking about? Hundreds of pounds? Are we talking
Yeah,
thousands?
I think it very much depends. This is, I think people have to be honest and realistic about the sorts of money and grants that they can apply for from grant makers. If you're if you're a fledgling new organisation that has got little or no experience of running projects, then you will apply for a small grant of £1,000 or £2,000, for example, just to get going with an idea. That may stretch up to something like £5,000 or £10,000 if you can make a strong, credible application. Once you've got some experience and you have a track record of delivering in your local community and you've actually made a difference, then obviously you can sort of cite that in your next round of applications, and you can go for larger grants for bigger projects, because you do have that track record of knowing what you're doing and the expertise to deliver, to meet needs for local people. So I think you just need to scale your ambition to where you are as an individual or organisation. If you're starting out, you'll go for small grants, £1,000 to £5,000 typically. If you then grow as a social enterprise or as a charity and you gain experience and your turnover increases, then you will go for larger project grants, and you may even apply for what's called core funding, which is a longer term investment in your organisation, because the grant maker has sufficient confidence that you're around to stay for a long time and you're going to make a real significant difference to your local community.
Excellent. And just to seek some clarity on that, in order to apply for these grants, do people need to be registered with the Charity Commission as a charity, or can local community groups who are not registered with the charity, take sports clubs, for example, can they apply?
That's a really good practical question. And the good news is, no, you don't have to be registered with the Charity Commission.
Okay.
The bottom line is that that there's two things you need as you need to organize yourself as a small community group to apply for a grant. And the two things that you need to have in place to do that are, you need to have a simple what's called constitution, which is a little bit of paper which just sets out who you are and what you do and what your idea is, what your purpose is. And then it's signed by your if you like, just a small number of people who you could call, for example, your steering group or your committee. But in reality, it'll just be 3 or 4 people that are like-minded, wanting to work on the same idea as you. And once you've got that constitution, you can then apply for a bank account in the name of your organisation or community group that is on that constitution. Once you've got the bank account and once you've got the constitution, you can apply for grants. That is all you need to do. Now, the good news is that CVS, I and my colleagues can help you do that. We can give you a model constitution from which you then just, if you like, adapt to make your own. So you put your own name on it, you put your own committee members on it, you just tweak it to make it right for you. Say a little bit about your purpose, what it is you want to achieve, and then that's your constitution. And then the second thing is, we can help you with some advice on the best banks to apply to for an account for a community group or a social enterprise or a charity.
Brilliant. We are going to pause there, and we will continue because we are approaching a short break. If you just tuned in, listeners, you're listening to the Sound of the Community Show with me, Hafiz Muhammad Umar, and today I have David Brewer with me, who is the Senior Advisor at Community Voluntary Service, Bedfordshire, and we are just talking about the practical ways in applying for small grants. And after this break, we will continue with that. David has just explained what the initial steps are in setting up a community group or a small organization and what you need to do. So please do tune in straight after the break, and we look forward to having you on board again very shortly. Thank you very much.
This programme will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
First kalima al-tayyibah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Enjoy quality and tasty 100% authentic halal Chinese and Thai food from Gao Express, brought to you by the team behind Top's Pizza in Luton. Choose from all your delicious Chinese and Thai favourites. Then order for delivery or collection from Gao Express in Wellington Street, Luton, Marketplace, Stevenage, and now also on Nightingale Road in Hitchin. Open daily midday till late. Find the number or order online at Gao, that's GAO, express.co.uk, or like Gao Express on Facebook.
Had an accident, a bump, trip or fall? Then you need Claims Specialists, your first choice for accident claims. The Specialist Claims Company on Dunstable Road in Luton. With excellent access to expert solicitors and on a no-win, no-fee basis, Claims Specialists use their 30 years' experience to help get you the best compensation possible. For injuries at work, taxi, PCO and private hire incidents, road accidents and vehicle damage, medical negligence, plus rented housing disrepair. In short, when you need to make any claim, click on claimspecialists.co.uk or call 01582 733 222.
For the tastiest sizzling steaks around, book now for Taurus Luton Boot Street, LU1 2EP. And not just for the best grass-fed and dry-hung aged halal steaks, as Taurus Luton also serve amazing chicken dishes, burgers, sumptuous sides, salads and vegetarian options, with mouth-watering mocktails too. All this and with excellent service. View the menu, book your table, or even party or celebration event at taurusluton.co.uk or call 01582 750 213.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम किरण है। कोट कश्मीर ऑर्फन रिलीफ ट्रस्ट मेरा एक खूबसूरत घर है जहां मेरे साथ सैकड़ों यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की तालीम व तरबियत और पुरसुकून माहौल में परवरिश हो रही है, और ये सब कुछ आपके तावन से मुमकिन है। अल्लाह से दुआ है कि अल्लाह करीम आपको सदा सलामत रखे, और उम्मीद है कि आप इसी तरह अपना प्यार, मोहब्बत और तावन जारी रखेंगे। कोट UK ऑफिस 0300123774 court.org.uk।
Are you thinking of starting a podcast or looking to give your podcast a new home? Why not hire Inspire FM's dedicated recording studio? With rates starting at just £25 per booking, our podcast studio is a fully functional, acoustically treated space for up to 4 people, and it's set up and ready to use as soon as you arrive. For more information or to inquire about booking, email us at info@inspirefm.org or send us a DM on our social media accounts at Inspire FM Luton.
इस्लामी नुक्ता निगाह से इल्मी और फिक्री मौज़ूआत का जायजा, इस्लाम की इंसानियत साज़ तालीमात का ख्याल अफरोज़ तज़किरा, रवादारी और बक़ाए बामी क़ज़ामिन, फ़िक्र व नज़र की तदहीर और अख़लाक़ी बालीदगी पर मबनी मौज़ूआत पर ताक़ीकी गुफ्तगू, वक्त, हालात और माहौल के तकाज़ों के मुताबिक समाजी इस्लाह क़ज़ामिन। सुनते रहिए और सवालात पूछिए। इंस्पायर FM पर प्रोग्राम सदाए तकदीर हर बुध दिन 11 बजे प्रोफेसर मसूद अख्तर हज़ारवी के साथ।
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 7:30.
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the second half of Saturday the Community Show with me, Hafiz Muhammad Umar. And in today's show, I'm delighted to have David with me. Welcome to you again, David.
Thank you.
David has kindly come all the way from Bedford to join me in the studios today and to talk about community voluntary service, Bedfordshire, which is basically the motto is strengthening local social action. And during the first half of the show, we covered some parts of their excellent work. I don't think an hour is enough, anywhere near enough to cover all the amazing work they do, which is why we signpost you to the website at www.cvsbeds.org.uk. CVS, that's short for Community Voluntary Service, beds.org.uk. And there you'll find lots of very useful information about who they are, what volunteering services are, what is connecting and supporting, and events that are coming up from as early as tomorrow. If you're in Amtil or even near there, you can attend a session there tomorrow morning, and also indeed the upcoming events in Luton later on in February and in March that we talked about earlier. Now, just before we went for the break, David was very kindly breaking down the protocols and procedures around applying for funding, what those requirements are. We talked about setting up a group or a small charity or an organization. And if you missed that, please do rewind the show and you can listen to that. And then we were at the stage where we were talking about the application to funders for small grants. So, David, if you just want to continue from that, please.
Yeah, sure. So, just for the benefit of listeners, what we said before the break was that if you're a small community group, there's two things you need to apply for a grant. You need to have a simple constitution in place, which we can help you with, and you need to apply for a bank account. And we can also give you advice on the banks we would recommend to apply to and some of the things to do to position yourself to make sure that there's no misunderstandings with the bank and that you get your account set up in the right way. Once you've done those two things, you can go ahead and apply for small grants from local grant makers to start to deliver the projects that inspire you to want to make a difference in your local community. It's as simple as that, really.
Excellent. And in terms of the criteria set by the fund, is the criteria for spending the money set by the funders, or is that by, an independent person or local authority?
Yeah. It's set by the funder. So there's two things that you need to do when you apply for a grant from a funder. You need to check that you're eligible. So every fund will have a grant manager, and it'll have a page on a website that details what the fund's about. Always check what are called the guidelines or the eligibility criteria, because they will set out the specific rules, if you like, for that grant, and they'll immediately tell you if, for example, as a small community organization, you are entitled to apply or not. If it's a small grant fund for startup projects, likely you will be able to apply as a startup organization, as a community group. So that shouldn't be a problem. If you're a medium-sized or even a small charity that may or may not be registered, or you're a social enterprise, then you just need to check that you're eligible to apply. Some grants, social enterprises are not eligible to apply for some grants, although most these days do open up to social enterprise, so it's usually okay, but it's always worth checking the eligibility criteria. The second thing that you must do is to check what are called the funder's priorities, and this was really what was at the heart of Mohammed's question. This is what does the grant maker, the funder, want to invest in? What are their priorities? And the idea is to get the closest match from your project to those funding priorities. So there may be 3 different options for grants from different funders that you can apply for. You could potentially go for all 3, but the thing to prioritize is the one that's got the best match between the funder's priorities and what it is your project is aiming to achieve. Because if you think about it, the better the match, the more likely it is that the funder's going to be inspired by your idea and want to back it, because they'll see that actually your vision for your local community is exactly what they want to invest in. So the closer you can get to having a good match between what they want to prioritize in terms of their funding priorities and what you want to do in your community through your project, the closer the match, the better you'll be, and the stronger your chance will be in your application. So once you've had a look at the eligibility criteria and you've had you think you've got a good match to funder priorities, then drop us a line at CVS, and what we'll do is we'll take you through the application process and support you to make the best possible application.
Brilliant. And in terms of any listeners out there who might be thinking, you know what, I've got this great idea, or I'm already running this group, it's all informal at the moment, and we meet, I don't know, a couple of times a week at a friend's house, and we try to create these opportunities in public parks or whatever. And if we were to try and suddenly use some money towards it, which is provided by a funder, what sort of things could we expect to do in terms of record keeping or ensuring that the fund is used for the purpose it has been used for, applied for?
Yeah, that's an important question. Most grant makers or funders will want to touch base with you through the duration of the project. So if they give you a grant that works for 12 months, for a year, to deliver a project, they'll probably want to touch base with you once every 3 or 4 months just to check that you're on track, you know, how your delivery's going, and it may be that through the application process they'll require just a little project plan. Now that might sound a little bit daunting and a bit off-putting, but it shouldn't be. It's just words for you having a bit of a sort of, if you like, methodical, thought through approach to your project. That's all it is. And again, we can help with that sort of business planning approach to your work. But you just need to have a little bit of care and attention and thought given to what it is you want to do. It's great to have an idea, but if you can put a little bit of care and thought into how you're going to make that idea a reality, you know, what is your business model, if you like? What are the income streams that you're going to have to deliver that idea? Will you get by with just the small grant that you're hoping to apply for, or will you need some other source of income? Will you use volunteers? Will you need to employ anyone? Will you need things like public liability insurance? Will you be working with children, for example, and therefore need to have a safeguarding policy? So I don't mean to put people off, but at some stage you do need to progressively think through these things, so to give the funder the confidence that they can invest in you because you've thought of these things and you've got them in place. And that's what CVS is here for. We'll take you through that journey and we'll provide you with the model policies and the business planning templates and the experience to get you going. So we're there to make it easy for you.
Brilliant. And so once, say, a small group has been able to apply for a small grant through your support, how quickly can they expect this to be turned around? Does it vary from a funder to funder, or is there one expectation?
That normally when you apply for a grant, the terms and conditions of that grant should be there for you to see in advance. So you know, some grants are payable up front, which is very helpful and useful if you're a sort of fledgling organization just getting going. You need some money to do some stuff straight away, really. Other grants will be paid in arrears once you've sent in a monitoring report. So you just need to be careful about that, so that if you do apply for a grant that's paid in arrears, on receipt of invoices and monitoring reports, you need to be prepared to do the work up front before you get the grant money from the organisation, the funder. So you just need to check the terms and conditions, and it may be that if it's a small grant you're applying for from a funder for as a startup organisation, usually those sorts of grants are paid up front, and the terms and conditions are purposely, shall I say, reasonable to give you the flexibility you need to get going as a startup organisation. That said, there's always some basic rules which are always try and record how you spend your money and what you spend it on, and the activities and tasks that you do as a result of that money spent, so that you can start to document through your monitoring what it is you've done with the money and the difference that you've been able to make through delivering your project.
Excellent. And then if somebody has, started a project, say any seasonal, take winter sports, summer sports, etc., and then they're worried that we had applied for 6 months and the following year we wait another 6 months, and then would they be eligible for applying again, or are these grants just one-off?
Some fund, the answer to that is it depends on the funder.
Okay.
Some funders like to reinvest in organizations that they've worked with previously that they know deliver good work.
Mm-hmm.
And they do like to reinvest and fund those projects and organizations again. Some other funders have rules that say if you've won a grant from us and you've delivered, even if that's been a great success, you can't have another grant from us for at least a year, because we like to give other people a go. So again, it depends on the specific rules of the funders. And the trusts and foundations around Bedfordshire and beyond that we're talking about that will give these grants, they're all made up of their own trustees, and they all have different ideas and rules about how they like to invest in local communities. So it's always best to check the guidelines on the specific funder website. And if you're not sure, to ring up the grant manager to check, just so that you know what you're applying for and what their specific rules are.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Listeners, that was David talking about opportunities for funding and what funders look for when considering applications. You are listening to Sunday the Community with me, Hafiz Muhammad Umar, here on Inspire 105.1 FM. And David, we are now going to move on towards volunteering. Why should people volunteer?
Oh, well, I think volunteering is a good thing for so many reasons. It's a great thing to do because it adds social value. If no one volunteered, then the world would not be in anywhere near as good a place as it is, because it relies on people, for all the right reasons, giving of their time and energy and effort and skills and experience to make their local communities and the wider world a better place. So just from that wider point of view, it's just a great thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And also it's incredibly rewarding. I know from my own personal experience, I'm not a prolific volunteer by any stretch of the imagination, but I have done a little bit of volunteering in my time. And when you do make the effort to give of your time and energy and skills, and you see that it makes a difference and people are grateful for that, it's really rewarding. It makes you feel good, and it's helpful for your own sort of personal health and well-being, because it makes you feel good about who you are and what you're doing. So in that way, it's a great thing to do. I think volunteering makes communities much stronger. Volunteering brings people together. Local communities that have a good mix of projects and organisations and individuals that work together tend to be stronger communities, and often that is based on voluntary effort, and it's such a good thing to see, and it can be very, very inspiring. I think there's also some very practical reasons why volunteering is important and why it's a good thing to consider. So, for example, if you're unlucky enough to have been out of work, not through your own choice, then volunteering often is a very practical way to get back into work, because it gives you the opportunity to gain new skills, knowledge and experience that will just make that little bit of difference in your next job application or your CV, just to get you over the line for that next job application. So if you're out of work or looking to change job, then consider volunteering as a way of, if you like, investing in yourself to skill up and just get that experience to take you to the next level and that next job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for summing up so brilliantly there, David. And on the back of that, if you've convinced half of Luton now on why they should become a volunteer, how can they become a volunteer then?
Okay, so there is a team at CVS Bedfordshire that is dedicated to looking after volunteers across Bedfordshire. So again, just send an email to that information at cvsbeds.org.uk email, and you'll either be interested to become a volunteer yourself, or maybe you'll be a local charity or community group or social enterprise that wants to use volunteers. Either way, contact us and we'll put you on a register. If you want to be a volunteer, we'll register you as being interested in volunteering. We'll register where you want to volunteer, how far you're prepared to travel, and the sorts of things that you're interested in doing. Once we've got those details, we have a separate register of charities, social enterprises, community groups that are interested in using volunteers, and have specific opportunities with different skills, knowledge, experience, sometimes opportunities that require no particular skills, knowledge and experience. It's just the dedicated time of someone to do something that is valuable. And once we've got those two registers in place, of course, we're if you like, we're a matchmaker. It's like a dating agency. We're a matchmaker. We find the best fit between the person that wants to volunteer and the volunteering opportunity. So if you register with us and you want to volunteer in Luton, we'll match you and your interests to the organisations in Luton that are interested to take on or have opportunities for with those sorts of skills, knowledge and experience that you're particularly interested in doing. So yeah, contact us. We'll make that match for you, and we'll get you hooked up with an organisation that would be interested to use your skills, knowledge and experience, or just your time and energy and effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, David. And then following on from that, for organizations looking to take on volunteers, David has just mentioned that very clearly. And there is a specific section for those who feel strongly about climate change and want to become green volunteers. I'm looking at the CVS website now, and there is a list of organizations who are already actively seeking those individuals with that particular green interest. So Amtil Climate Change Group, for example, Bedfordshire Climate Change Forum, CPRE, the Countryside Charity Bedfordshire, right the way down to Refill Luton and Refill Bedford. So there are a whole host of organizations out there already. If you are unsure of where to find them, you can either look for them using a search engine, or better still, just go to cvsbeds.org.uk and then choose the volunteering option from the top menu, and they'll take you straight there to see which organizations might be close to you to be able to work with.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's worth just saying that I think we've become, certainly over the last 18 months, as part of our own strategic development as an organisation, we've really kicked on and tried to show increased leadership to the sector around climate change. It's just such an important thing now, and we're increasingly trying to find the very best resources and tools and websites to give very practical advice about how you as individuals and organizations can become more environmentally friendly. So there is a specific page on our website that's dedicated to that, and gives you all sorts of practical advice about how you can start to really get serious about climate change and make a little difference yourself, because all that adds up, of course, and means that we can all invest in a greener planet moving forward.
Absolutely. And then going back to your group as a whole, David, Community Voluntary Service, is this something only available in Bedfordshire, or do you have branches in other parts of the country?
Yeah, there are similar in different areas of the country, but they all work slightly differently. They're not. There's no one, if you like, model, or there's no footprint or model for CVSs everywhere. So I think in Milton Keynes, for example, I think the organisation is called Community Action Milton Keynes, if I've got that right. But it does very similar work to us. It supports, it's independent, and it supports charities and social enterprises and community groups to make the best for themselves, and to add social value to the area, if you like. So yeah, they're not always called CVS, although sometimes they are. They might be called something different. But in a lot of areas, not every area, in a lot of areas up and down the country, there are very similar organisations that do similar stuff to support local communities through voluntary effort.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. And I'm just looking at the benefits of connecting with a whole host of organizations, including your own. Why should people sign up to things like your email updates or newsletters?
Yeah, that's a really important point. I think we do have on the website, through connecting, the offer of signing up to our email update. I would actually recommend people to do this. It gives you access to an email once a week with all the latest funding opportunities and news across the voluntary community sector. Also jobs in the voluntary community sector. So news, jobs, funding opportunities, all wrapped up nicely in one email a week. So if you're interested, if you work in a charity or a social enterprise, or you're just involved in a small community group, this is perfect for you. So just sign up to the email update and just get that dropped into your inbox once a week to get all that latest information. It just means, for example, we spent a lot of time earlier talking about funding opportunities and local grant makers. So it just means that you have in one neat place, usually on a Thursday or Friday, when the email drops, you'll have all the latest opportunities there for you just to review. So it just makes life easy for you. And yeah, it's a sensible thing to do. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Do sign up.
And we are coming to the end of the show now. And just on a final point, any organizations that want to be involved, do sign up as well, please. There is a directory for organizations too. David, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. Thank you so much for your time. It is highly appreciated. And we are immensely grateful to you for taking the time to join us this evening.
Thank you, Mohammed. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope to see many of your listeners at the forthcoming Let's Hub drop-in sessions in March.
Thank you so much. And on the final note, listeners, if you are wanting to get involved with the Faith and Cancer, they're meeting at Central Baptist Church on Saturday, the 18th of January, from 9:30 till 12 o'clock, and Send in the Experts is next Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to us today. We hope you'll be able to join us again next week when we discuss more important issues on Send in the Community Show. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.